Good day, everybody. This is Michael Liveris from jurisq.com with divorce attorney Marina Shepelsky. Marina, welcome back.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for always answering our frequently asked questions on divorce law. People have a lot of questions. And the next question that I have for you is, sometimes you open a small business or a bigger business with your spouse. That could be a little tricky. And can you tell us what are the pitfalls of opening a business with a spouse, and why you should have your own separate attorneys preparing the paperwork for the business?
It's a hard question, Michael. I'm always glad to help you guys, but you always ask me the hardest questions, I think.
That's my job.
Okay. First of all, I think it's really tough to work together when it's a husband and wife team. Yeah. However, that happens a lot. The reality is it happens frequently that, people who are married, they end up having a business together, they work together, they're self-employed together. It happens a lot. The pitfalls are as follows. Let's say one person uses their money from before marriage to invest in a new business. Let's say it's a husband. He got an inheritance from his parents, and he decides to take $100,000 he received when one of his parents or an aunt or uncle died and invest in a business. The wife is now helping him set it up, helping him run it, hire people,
investing her sweat. It's called sweat.
Yeah. So you can't any longer claim the husband. The husband can no longer claim that that was his business because she actually helped him bring up this business. Right. And the fact that this was his separate property inheritance, meaning it wasn't marital, it wasn't something that he was planning to put into the marital property, perhaps. That argument goes out the window, because if somebody worked with you on this business, you could have lost your whole entire inheritance, but instead it went into a business, hopefully it grew and so on. So it's not something that you can necessarily claim, first of all. Second of all, people, when they're getting divorced, they don't have the same interests. In fact, their interests are completely the opposite of each other. Yeah. So if you are thinking of separation or divorce, and you are getting into business together, and by the way, I have represented people in a situation where they get divorced and remain in the business together. It's not like ideal, but it happens. I've seen them happen.
They have no choice because the wife has a very integral, important part of the business, and so is the husband, and they're replaceable. They have to work together.
It's a good idea to have your own attorney look at the paperwork and not have your spouse present. Although in reality, when it's a small business and it's a family business, people don't even, bother with a lawyer at all. But
then in the long run, that's very dangerous. It's better to pay a little bit more to
of course.
But if
you are getting divorced or if you're getting separated, each side should have their own lawyers look at it, look at the property, look at the divorce agreement, and advise them separately, advise their own interest. Because a lot of things come up in business that the other side might not have expected to come up. When people get divorced, they're sometimes at their worst. Yeah. So it's better to have an attorney who is not involved to just look at it for you, and another attorney for your spouse, and just put something together that makes both of you somewhat happy, although no one is ever really happy in a divorce. But at least everyone feels it's fair. They had their own lawyer look at it, and it's more fair. And listen, if you do decide to, divide a business, people usually get an appraiser involved. Okay. They get a neutral accounting company, sometimes two, but if both sides agree on a completely neutral expert accounting firm to appraise the business, then it's much easier to divide. But then, like, a lot of times, like I had one divorce where the husband was a doctor and the wife was a nurse and she worked with him. And they were using the company money for personal needs, both of them, not just the husband, But then when they were dividing up the business and all its assets, it was difficult to decide how much the business was making because they were using the money, not necessarily just for business, but also for themselves personally. Plus some renovations were done, in this office. you know, things like that come up. So it's always better to have two lawyers, an appraiser company looking at it. And then, you know, and then you have to work with them too. You have to like sometimes explain.
I feel like even preparing corporate documents, like issuing shares, the operating agreement, articles of incorporation, all that should be prepared and reviewed by two separate attorneys. So later on, you don't have any surprises. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes people choose to have, let's say, one share certificate made out to two names, in which case you have to decide if you want to take as husband and wife, or do you want to take as joint tenants, meaning, you know, partners 50-50. So definitely something worth thinking about if, you know, if you are thinking of divorce in the future.
So it seems like nobody is guaranteed not to get divorced. You never know. So it seems like if you're entering into a business with your spouse, it's best to contact also a family law divorce attorney just in case. For somebody like you to review the documents, make sure you're protected for the future.
And it's also a situation where perhaps a post-nuptial agreement is not a bad idea. A post-nuptial agreement is something that married people can sign. It's not a separation agreement. It's just like a prenuptial agreement, but during the marriage, right? Right, that's why it's called post, meaning after the marriage, right? And in that agreement, you guys can spell out that, you know, by the way, this business is a 50-50 ownership. And you don't even have to say in case of divorce, but basically saying the parties have an intention that this is going to be a 50-50 or 30-70, whatever, you know, whatever the breakdown is, you know, that's also going to be super helpful in case you do end up getting divorced or not. Either way, it's not going to be a bad thing to have a post-nuptial agreement.
Marina, thank you very much. You're always very helpful to our listeners and our viewers, and I'm looking forward to having more sessions with you. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.